Okay. All right, so once again, welcome everybody, and thank you for coming tonight. For those who don't know me, I'm Jen Oliver, the president of the League of Women Voters of Dearborn Heights. I'd especially like to welcome and thank the elected officials who agreed to join us tonight. The League of Women Voters encourages active participation in city government or local government and community. And we believe that getting to know our elected officials is part of that active participation. So tonight's meeting is a little bit different than what we would usually do in February. So in the before times, before COVID and everything shut down, we would meet in person every February to celebrate the League's birthday and to meet all of our local officials and just kind of have a meet and greet, mingle, chat, talk about what was happening in our community, different political topics, et cetera. So the recent pandemic surge made it really difficult for us to plan anything in person. We didn't want to put anybody at risk, and we didn't know what would be happening this time at this point in February. So we're really grateful to be able to host a Zoom meeting. But of course, a virtual meeting has some limitations. For this meeting, we've invited the 8 local elected officials who were elected to their offices for the first time last November. And we did this because we recognize that if we invited everybody to one single meeting, the meeting could possibly be 3 hours long, and nobody wants that. So to respect your time, we'll start with our officials who are in their first terms. Some of them are already familiar to us because they've served in other offices, or they've served in their communities, or they were appointed within the year prior to the election. Others are less familiar because they're fairly new to local politics, but either way, we welcome you and we'd like to get to know you a little bit better. So tonight we are joined by Mayor Abdullah Hammoud and City Council members Kamal, Al-Sawafy, Mustapha Hammoud, and Ken Paris of Dearborn, and City Council members Hassan, Ahmad, Baydoun, and Nancy Bryer of Dearborn Heights. Unfortunately, hi Bob. We also have in the audience.
Herrick is here as well.
Yeah, we also have in the audience Dearborn City Councilwoman Leslie Herrick and Dearborn Heights City Councilman Bob Constant. Thank you both. And Mayor Abdullah of Dearborn Heights was also invited tonight. He contacted me this morning to express his regrets. He ended up having a last-minute conflict that he couldn't resolve. So he is sorry that he's not here tonight, and he hopes to meet with all of us soon. But with that, this is, I hope this is fun and relaxed for everybody. I'd like to start by going in alphabetical order by city name. We'll start with Dearborn. So I guess we'll start with Mayor Hammoud, if you'd like to introduce yourself and talk about how your first term is going so far and any plans that you have.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And let me just give a quick shout out to Mayor Bill Bazzi, who's doing great things in Dearborn Heights. It looks like I'm dressed more casually than my newly elected city council. I'm dressed in full daddy duty mode. And so if you see some, spit stains and stuff, just welcome it and accept it. That's what my role is right now. For those who I've never met, my name is Abdullah Hammoud. I'm a lifelong Dearbornite. Dearborn is my home. It's the place that I'm raising my family. For me, I'm a fortune tractor. That's probably the proudest title that I have. Prior to assuming office as mayor, I was a state representative for 5 years. Prior to that, I'm an epidemiologist by trade, so worked in the public health sector for many years before I ultimately ran for office. I am the second oldest of 5 children, the son of immigrant parents, and I really ran for mayor because I want to move Dearborn forward. As somebody who actively chose to come back to Dearborn after graduate school, I want to make sure that Dearborn is the place that my daughter chooses to raise her family. And so that means addressing tough issues and challenges that have faced our residents for far too long. And I'm super excited to work with the council that we have and to co-govern alongside the residents and hopefully addressing those issues. So thank you again for having me and excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Kamal Al-Sawafy, would you like to introduce yourself and talk about your plans?
Yes, absolutely. So good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this together. Thank you for the opportunity to connect. Well, most importantly, I want to thank you, the residents, for putting your faith in me and allowing me the opportunity to serve Dearborn. So just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Kamal Al-Sawafy. I'm a lifelong Dearborn resident, a pioneer. I'm the business development manager for Wayne County and an officer in the Army National Guard. It's been a great experience so far. The staff, the city council staff, and my senior colleagues have been amazing with the onboarding process. And really, my priorities are the same priorities that I learned at the doors. It's reckless and speeding drivers. It's the high taxes that we pay in Dearborn. It's the rat issue. It's basically offering those services to our residents. So those are my priorities. I'll continue to work on them. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Of course, thank you. Next, Mustapha Hammoud, would you like to introduce yourself? Talk about what's important to you.
Hi, so my name is Mustapha Hammoud. I think many of you may know me from the fact that I'm a League baby. My mother used to be the president of the League of Women Voters, Dearborn Heights.
Your wonderful mother, yes.
Yes, Mona Hammoud. And then I think many of you know my father, Ahmad Hammoud, who likes to do the post-election analysis. And for everybody who does not know me, I mean, I've been involved in Dearborn politics since I was about 7 years old. I'm a very, very, very pro-democracy type person as well. I've been following the redistricting very carefully, and I just very, very much believe in I'm actually a League member, for everybody who doesn't know that, because we haven't had the chance to really meet in person very much over the last several years. But yeah, I'm also a powertrain engineer at Ford Motor Company, and I ran for council specifically to address especially the flooding concerns. I mean, I've always had concerns about our infrastructure, and I think June of last year, we kind of saw that come to a head. And I think the city can do better with both evaluating our infrastructure as well as encouraging residents to take individual steps to help mitigate some of the concerns and kind of push for more green infrastructure that we know is both beneficial to the environment around us as well as to residents functionally by reducing the amount of rainwater that we always have to deal with. So, and actually, I think another thing that the League might find interesting is Dearborn City Council is going to be evaluating new precinct maps. So this week, actually, and 2 weeks from now, we're going to be voting on it. So I really I know a lot of you are following the redistricting process of the state, and I think it's going to be very important for people who live, especially in Dearborn, to follow our local redistricting process. And I'm hoping to have a lot more public input on that as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Of course, thank you. And next, Ken Paris, would you like to introduce yourself and talk about your priorities?
Yeah, good evening, folks, and thank you to the League for having this, and thank you for all the invited guests that are here tonight. And I got to say thank you to Mustapha too. Mustapha and I sit next together on the up on the council dais, and I am definitely the oldest, and Mustapha is definitely the youngest. So we have a lot of conversation before and after the meetings. But a little bit about myself, I think my priorities are probably going to be in line with my other council members that I serve with out on the campaign trail. But something else that I think is very important too is one of the number one priorities, obviously, is the flooding. And I don't think we really ran too long with that because we didn't expect that to happen when it happened anyways. But flooding is the number one issue right now, but probably more important for the short term for me is to listen to our residents and our citizens and our business owners and gain their trust. Because right now we've only been at this, the three newest members, for a very brief time. And it's not that we need to make an impact. We all need to sit back a little bit and listen and learn and know what our role encompasses and what we can and cannot do, and reach out to the community and still see what's important to them and how we can serve them. Of course, many of you know that I was a career police officer. I was in uniform for 39 years in this city, both with Dearborn Police Department, where I served 27 years, 8 months, 6 days, and 2 hours. I will always remember that. Went to the University of Michigan, Dearborn, and ran the public safety day-to-day operations there for 12 years as the first police officer on that campus. And then I just retired January 31st from AAA Michigan, from corporate security that I spent 7.5 years. So now I am going to be devoting all my efforts to serving the city continuously as a retiree. So I'm going to have more time. So I'm sure we're going to talk about some other things and so on, but that's pretty much me in a nutshell. And probably the most proudest thing that I've ever been involved in is playing a major role in my grandchildren's lives. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm sure we're going to talk some more.
All right, thanks, Ken. And now we will move to the Dearborn Heights newly elected city council members. We'll start with Hassan Ahmad. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm sorry, I lost my voice. My name is Hassan. Thank you for the invite. And my name is Hassan Ahmad. I'm a father of 3 wonderful children and a husband. And education-wise, I have a bachelor in computer engineering and master's in business administration. I've been practicing real estate for about close to 20 years in the Dearborn Heights area. I led my local board, the Dearborn Area Board of Realtors, as president in 2020. I was appointed by Governor Snyder in 2018 to the Michigan State Board of Real Estate Brokers. I served the city on the tax appeal board for about 4 years. I ran for city council to make a difference. My whole plan is to work hand in hand with city council members and administration and city department as one team without drama or prejudice. My first priorities, of course, is the flooding in Ecorse Creek. My own home flooded this past June. I know we already started in the city working on a short-term solutions and long-term solutions. Some of the short terms are, buying the houses alongside the creek. Long-term solutions is retention basins. Other stuff, it's not a secret. Dearborn Heights City is really outdated. As a real estate agent, I work with the different city department every single day, especially the building department. It needs to be brought up to the 21st century. So I'm working with the administration and the department in order to bring more technology to the city. So stuff like this. Another, of course, keeping our streets safe, and another, as a businessman in the city is way overdue for a master plan, which is, I'm so happy we just approved for the city engineer to start the bids for having a master plan for our city. And I'm just, thank you for all the residents, and I'm looking forward to serving everyone. And by all means, I'm not a politician. I'm just somebody who works and lives in the city and looking for have a wonderful city for our kids. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Hassan. And now, Mo Baydoun, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about
Hey
your
guys,
priorities?
thank you so much. First and foremost, I apologize for not having my picture up. I was not planning on packing as I'm doing this, but I promise you I put packing aside, and I'm here giving my full attention to everybody that is speaking here today. For those who have spoken, who are newly elected, congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much to Jennifer and the women with the League of Women Voters. If I'm speaking a little too fast, please, Jennifer, just let me know. Also, congratulations to Alicia for joining as a new member here with the League of Women Voters. Congratulations to you. My name is Mo Baydoun. I'm a small business owner here in the city of Dearborn Heights. Running for public office, it was always a passion of mine. I've always had the aspirations of running for public office. That is no secret. From being involved from Kiwanis at Key Club back in high school, to Students Against Destructive Decisions, to the Lebanese Student Association at Wayne State. I'd like to believe that I've brick by brick, I've paved the way through a lot of leaders in this community, like David Kniezek or Councilman Dave Abdullah, or even Bob Constant, who helped pave that way for me, alongside me as well, to run for office. And so here I am. I like to believe is bringing in this new perspective, a lot of energy, making sure that we're fighting for our police and fires, making sure that resources are there for our senior citizens, but also for our millennials. Making sure that there's, we can remove some of this red tape and what's happening with small business owners that are trying to open up new investors into the city. And so here we are in Dearborn Heights, collaboratively working together with all council. Now, prior to Dearborn Heights, as my colleague, Councilman Hassan Ahmad said, we have really been stuck in the 60s. Some of our bathrooms, some of our infrastructure and buildings have been stuck for so long, and it's really been playing a toll on the city. I think the mayor is doing a phenomenal job at working this with his new directors. We've now officially have a city engineer, which we've never had. As Dearborn Heights continues to grow, our budget is going to continue to grow. Our services are going to continue to grow. And so I want to make sure that we're at the forefront, making sure that residents are prepared for that. And so that's why I ran, and here we are. And thank you so much, Jennifer, to all the women here at the League of Women Voters and gentlemen.
All right, thanks, Mo. And, last but not least of our newly elected officials, I'd like to welcome Nancy Bryer to talk about yourself a little bit and tell us your priorities.
Yes, Mo's the youngest, I'm the oldest, but we cover the whole council. We have been able we've been able this time to get a very congenial group. We're working well together. We have a lot of plans for the city. And as already mentioned with the flood, we do have a commission on the Course Creek. We do meet this Wednesday at 6 o'clock for anyone who's interested at 3335 South Beach Daily at the admin building of Westwood Community Center. We're making great progress. We will have our city engineer speak to us about the latest progress. We do have intentions to have retention, detention ponds, improvements. We've recently torn down 4 houses with the help of FEMA on Courier Street, and we want to work along with our sister city, Dearborn, to make sure we can improve the flooding situation for everyone in the area. I've been a long-term resident. My parents were active in the community. Like some of the others, we have a large group of realtor type people, and I was in real estate for 35 years. I also have an associate's degree from Tacoma Community College in Washington State, criminal justice as a paralegal, and been active in Girl Scouts. I am currently the president of South Dearborn Heights Civic Association. That meeting is this Thursday. We will be having people from our water department come and talk to us. That's 7 o'clock at that same location, 3335 South Beach Daily. And I think we've been doing a lot to work together. Some of the things we all plan to accomplish, we're making it more peaceful on our council, and I think we've established that. We want the issues to be taken care of that we have with the flooding, of course, both in our north and south ends of town. And I think we're doing a pretty good job with what we've got going right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. And, in the interest of making sure that we're familiar with our public officials, I think I'm great, I speak for all of us that I'm grateful that we also have a couple of, our incumbent elected officials here tonight. And I'd like to invite Leslie Herrick and Bob Constant to, introduce themselves to our members and talk a little bit about, their plans for the current term. So
Leslie, go ahead.
Thank you, Councilman. It's nice to see everybody tonight. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, as always, for helping build the relationships between not just the public and yourselves, but with the council members from one city to the next, because I think, as was just mentioned, we are sister cities. So thank you for mentioning that, Nancy. It's really important that we develop these relationships. And I'm excited to see the new members of your council, as well as my colleagues on the Dearborn City Council. I think that we have some fabulous new council members who have joined us thanks to our wise voters in Dearborn. And we're off to a really good start here in Dearborn. Some of our priorities, again, because we are right next door to each other, are very similar, dealing with the flooding issue. I think the new mayor is in a good position in that he's worked at the state level, so he's familiar with resources there and those relationships with our federal legislators, because obviously infrastructure has been an issue across the country, but we've seen it here firsthand about how devastating it can be. So flooding is top of mind for all of us. Some of the things that I talked about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I first ran, remain my same top priorities, because we know that in Dearborn, our first responders, public safety is always a priority. So I'm pleased to have a good working relationship with both our fire and police departments. Our council president has urged us, and I already had done this, but ride-alongs with our fire and our police departments to see what they do firsthand, because no resident can be totally familiar with the things that are, especially our police officers have to deal with on a daily basis. It's always changing, and they face a lot of challenges. But we are very fortunate to have very talented first responders and the support of our city and our residents with the dollars that we put towards public safety. In addition, beautiful neighborhoods. Dearborn has amazing architecture going back, over 200 years in some cases, to some of the residences, to new architecture here. And so I'm proud of our beautiful neighborhoods, our tree-lined streets, and that remains a priority for me to protect those and give people an opportunity to enjoy quiet enjoyment of their own homes. And so that remains a priority for me. In addition, our business districts, we had a lot of challenges during COVID, but I'm excited that we have a strong DDA, Downtown Development Authorities, in East and West Dearborn, and we have a new economic development director coming in under Mayor Hammoud, and I'm excited to see what the near future holds for business development here in Dearborn. And our recreation, our arts and culture, that's always been a passion for me. I think a lot of you know that I've been involved with the Dearborn Community Fund and what happens at our Performing Arts Center for years, the Dearborn Symphony. I'm on the board of the Dearborn Youth Symphony. A city having wonderful homes is a large part of the quality of life, but what we can do within our own cities outside of our homes is really important to Dearborn residents. So continuing to invest in our parks and our pools and our cultural arts remains a priority for me. And I'm happy to have the opportunity to be able to work with others here to provide those opportunities for our residents. So I look forward to continuing to work with our new council members and the new mayor. It's a really exciting time here in Dearborn, and I appreciate the support of our residents in giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. And Bob, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Bob Constant, and I'm a member of the Dearborn Heights City Council, former state rep and former city council chair. I was returned to the council this last time, and both Dearborn and Dearborn Heights have enjoyed an increase in population with the last census, and both cities are flush with cash, both because of the rising property values and the American Recovery Act money, which is a very good thing. We've had a lot of changes in Dearborn Heights in department heads and different things. I agree with my fellow Dearborn Heights council people that the city, especially some of the services we provide, need to be updated and modernized. Of course, our flooding, Ecorse Creek flooding, and the north end flooding from the Rouge is the problem that we have to address. And any type of sewer work, infrastructure work is very expensive. But hopefully with the American Recovery Act money from the federal government, we'll be able to make good use of this money and finally do something to slow down or stop the flooding problem. I, at the invitation of Councilwoman Leslie Herrick, toured, I think it was the second time, the Dearborn Area Dispatch, and I was very much in favor of Dearborn Heights joining the Dearborn Area Dispatch. Most of the dispatch centers in the state are joint dispatch. I believe Oakland County has one central dispatch. It's more economical. The dispatch equipment is very, very expensive, and it's often modernized. And I really thought that it would be more economical and a better long-term approach for Dearborn Heights to join the 6 other communities and the Dearborn area dispatch. That didn't happen, but I think it's still a possibility, and that's something that we can work on in the future. We're going to be doing our budget, the city's budget this coming year. We're fortunate in that we're flush with cash, but we have a lot of new department heads and a new contract, $440,000 contract with Plant Moran to sort of take over our financial operation. And we'll see how that goes. We were served for a long time by Treasurer John Riley, who was a CPA who did just an excellent job. But I'm looking forward to both our communities growing and working on the flooding problem, working on the drag racing and the speeders. It was a shame the death of the young girl in Dearborn. It was a client of mine, lives almost right next door, right on the same block, and the family was grief stricken. We hope we can prevent things like that in the future. So thank you, League of Women Voters, for setting up the forum. We appreciate it, and good luck to everyone.
Thanks, Bob. And now I'd like to open up the floor for questions. This is a meet and greet, so just if you have a question, please pipe up, or you can type it in the chat box, and Betsy or I can read it. Okay, well, I'll start us off. I've never served in elected office, and I've always been a little bit curious about the experience. So, any of you can answer this, but what was it like to be sworn in, and what have your first few weeks been like?
Maybe I'll kick it off.
Sure.
Be a little shy. So, having been in the office for 5 years as state rep, coming in as mayor, I'll speak to the mayoral experience. You come in as mayor, and I know Councilman Constance said Dearborn is flush with cash. Well, we came in, and the residents also, turned down a continuation of a supplemental operating millage. So you come in January knowing that you have to find 16 million in efficiencies within 6 months. It's about 12% of our budget. Secondly, when you come in, you kind of want to work on the exciting things. You want to figure out, addressing the flooding issues, what new economic development opportunities. But in these first 6 weeks in office, we've had, 2.5 snow emergencies. Dearborn unfortunately had a fatal shooting incident. And so it's been nothing that I expected. Frankly, everything that comes with the job, but not things that I thought I would encounter within the first 6 weeks. And if you hear my daughter, forgive me. And so that's also been exciting. The fact that, I entered into the mayor's office, but my daughter's also 11 weeks. And so I'm not only a new mayor, but a new father. I think that experience has really been eye-opening. And so it's not only work at the office, but I think it's just more motivation for really wanting to ensure that we succeed.
Mayor, there was one message in the chat that said, "Is your baby awake, Miriam, and can we see?"
I'll see if I can grab her. Right now. We'll do a surprise visit.
We'll make her an honorary league member.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. I think, Ken, did you have your hand up next, or Mustapha? Yeah, Ken, go
Sure,
ahead.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Probably for me, it hasn't hit me yet. And I know I get that question a lot, how the first few weeks have been. I ran for city council 4 years ago, and primarily still the same thing now, running on the same issues. You have to understand that with my background in law enforcement, I don't want to come as seemingly one-dimensional. I do care a lot about other issues, and I think I'm showing that to not just my fellow council members, but other people that are getting to know me and watching our council meetings and coming to some of our study sessions and some other meetings of council. It hasn't hit me yet, but I was chair of the Dearborn Traffic Commission. I do have some knowledge about traffic calming. I did have a web page, or a Facebook page that I still have, but not devoting as much attention to it, to bring up a lot of issues that are confronting the city, because I've attended so many meetings of city council over the years, probably at least the last 5 or 6 years, virtually every meeting, study session, budget session, which is really important coming up. So I have kind of an understanding of some of the things that some of the council members are doing. I can see the process. I can understand what's taking place. But I think behind the scenes, when you get up there and those bright lights are on you, at that seat, you do have a understanding, what, we have to make some tough decisions here, and people elected me to do that, as they did with the other members sitting up there. So some of the administrative things behind the scenes, in the office and what have you, that has taken a little bit of work, but I'm really up to the challenge. There's a lot of issues that we need to take care of in this city, and I think I'm up to the challenge, and I surely believe that our mayor and the rest of our city council was up to that challenge also. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. And I think Mustapha, your hand was up next, right?
Yeah, so I think it's funny because when I was really little, I always wanted to run for office. And then after you spend 15 years, in politics and actively fighting for candidates, you kind of get over it, where it's kind of like, well, I've seen the outcomes. Am I done with the work yet? Have I accomplished the change? Are we done? And then it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's one more cycle. And then, I kept telling myself, okay, this is the last year. I can't do this anymore. Because I'm 27 years old. I kicked off my career. I got promoted at work. I do project management at Ford. So for me, it's trying to find the balance. My favorite part about city council specifically is that I get to keep my day job while I can be an elected official. And my least favorite part about it is that I have my day job while I'm an elected official. Because I don't worry about running for re-election, because I know that my financial future is secure, because Ford Motor Company doesn't want anything from me except for me to do a good job at work. And then I appreciate it because I'm liberated. I can say what I truly believe at all times. I represent my constituents, but I don't consider myself political in some ways, because I get to do whatever I want. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I think people know how my family is too. That's the problem with my family, is we're very blunt on some things. But I think, finding that balance is really the struggle for me, because, I'll have something that I think is earth shattering at the city. That's, a big deal. People are calling me on 9 o'clock on Saturday night. I'm out trying to eat dinner and people are asking about snow. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop eating right now and get over to this thing. And it's not, I think the biggest thing is, realizing that not every situation is the end of the world, because we go from being an activist to the government, and there's crises every day in government. Truthfully, there's a fire every other week. and kind of putting things into perspective sometimes, I think, has been the biggest kind of, I don't know if it's like a change or like a growing experience for me, but really making sure to be thinking long term, kind of like what Mayor Hammoud said. I mean, when Councilman Constant said the cities are flush with cash, I was like, oh, I don't know about all that, but no, and it's been really interesting also kind of getting to know how the body works, like with the colleagues that I have. I sit all day around with engineers, so dealing with normal people is such a great change of pace for me. so I'm honestly having a lot of fun, and it's different to be kind of on the inside instead of from the outside looking in, yelling. And then when you're on the inside, you're like, oh, I actually have the power to change things for the better. I don't have to explain this to anyone. I can just go do it. It's so convenient. So I think that's been the biggest change for me as an elected official.
And let me just add that Mustapha Hammoud, Abdullah Hammoud, no relation. Hammoud is like the Smith of the Lebanese world. So
he wishes he was related to me.
Yes.
Especially in this forum.
I had to laugh when you talked about, engineers versus normal people. I was trained as a scientist, so I know what you mean. All right, so Kamal, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, so just we're talking about how it feels, after being in office for a little bit. But I'm no politician. I just wanted to run because I had a passion to serve, and it was a lot of work. Campaigning wasn't easy. Worked so hard for it, and then it happened. And then you realize that it's such a big responsibility. It feels like it's supposed to be a part-time job, but it's really a full-time obligation. Everyone has priorities, and it's important to prioritize the priorities and get as much work done as possible. And then coming in, I want to work on all the big campaign stuff that we talked about so much. And then you come in day one and you're approving maybe a purchase for lawnmowers or putting the structure together, which is all important. But I think once we kind of get over that, we can work on the things that we're so passionate about. And it's been a wonderful experience. I think we have a really good working relationship with all different bodies of government. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mayor Hammoud has been so wonderful, and he's been working so hard. The rest of my colleagues are just great people to work with. So I'm excited for the next 4 years. I'm excited to get a lot of work done and learn so much. We're still in that learning curve, but I think once we get over that, we can get the gears moving for sure.
Jan, I saw you popped up your hand a couple of times.
I did. And I'm brand new, so I'm very naive about this. However, I've been, my husband and I have just recently moved to Alegria Village, AKA Henry Ford. And so we're brand new Dearborn residents. And I, have all kinds of issues that I brought with me from Grosse Pointe, which is where I live. And now I need to learn about the issues here. But one thing that really bugs me, because my whole family lives in Grosse Pointe, so we're back and forth at least twice a week, that the entrance to the, from Ford Road to I-94 is disgraceful. I mean, anybody that doesn't live here and know that there's a nice place to be on either side of that entrance, why would they ever come back? I mean, can we do anything about that? I mean, the houses are shackled, the litter is terrible. It's just an awful way to come back from Grosse Pointe, and we come up this garbage heap. It's awful. And I just wonder, am I talking to the wrong people? I don't even know who to talk to, but that's my issue here, because we see it so often. So.
As Councilman Mustapha Hammoud pointed out, that's city of Detroit.
Okay, so all I have to do is talk to the mayor.
Well, I think it's a state road, so the state of Michigan and probably the state of Michigan,
well, Ford Road leads right to it, so both ways.
Roads and highways. Ford Road is a state road, I believe.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So the state, the state highway and the state road and the possibly also Wayne County.
Okay.
But it was an industrial area, and that's the way the entrance and exit to 94 is configured.
Right.
And
I mean, there are days when I'd like to just take my bag and my rake and go out there and clean it up myself. I mean,
Would not recommend that.
I'm not going to do that. Obviously, it would be way too dangerous. But okay, well, that's something that you guys can't do anything about. But
Yeah, it's not even in Dearborn, and even if it was specifically, I mean, addressing the peripheral concerns, those would be possibly a city issue, but the actual itself, yeah, is outside of bounds of the city. It's in those specific cases, but yeah, that specific location you're talking about, that on-ramp is actually in Detroit. The on-ramps for I-94 that go into Dearborn would be from Michigan Avenue, I think, and Rotunda, and I believe and then Schaefer, and but the Oakwood one I believe would be in Allen Park, but it borders Dearborn. It's very close because I actually used to work in that area, so. But I'm very familiar with what you're talking about, and it doesn't look nice, but that's not in the realm of our city.
I hear you. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, Jennifer. I was going to add kind of what Mustapha said. I'm familiar with both of those exit ramps, and I would recommend she take the Michigan Avenue one because it's grand. It's like a 3-block ramp that goes from Wyoming all the way to Miller, practically. And it's a nice smooth ramp, and then you can take Michigan Avenue to Oakman or to Greenfield and take it down to Ford Road.
Just avoid that intersection altogether, right?
Pardon?
Just avoid the intersection altogether.
Right,
if you'd like, yeah.
The Michigan ramp in either direction is much better.
And it's smoother, and it's actually paved nicely, and there's no potholes in it. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
No problem.
That's something to work with. Thank you.
But I can relate to you. I belong to the garden club, and a lot of times I see things I'd like to clean up too.
Yeah.
I want to go plant flowers someplace.
Yeah.
Well, thanks all. And I realize that Mo, you have your hand up, so I want to give you a chance to speak.
Hey, thank you so much again. I got on because nobody from Dearborn Heights had raised their hand at the time, and now I think Hassan Ahmad is raising his hand. So I'll just keep it very brief. I think, like many of us here today, usually when you're speaking in front of the League of Women Voters, you're speaking in front of a crowd that wants to know who they're going to be voting for. Today, we have all been elected. So I think, the butterflies and the tension and everything else just kind of feels a lot easier today speaking in front of you guys. And it just feels a lot better. I see Mary Jo laughing here because I remember the first time I spoke in front of the League of Women Voters, I was so nervous. And a lot of my friends were like, well, what was wrong with you? Like, what happened? But I think being, now you're in office, I think kind of what Mustapha Hammoud said, you're sitting down on a Saturday night at dinner and somebody walks up to you and says, hey, is my snow going to be plowed? You're at, you had a birthday party and the guy says, I live on Midway and Amboy. Is my street going to be plowed? I live around a block from you. But it really is just tackling on those issues. I know both of the mayors today are doing a phenomenal job going above and beyond for their community. And I know this council in Dearborn and in Dearborn Heights are going to be doing a great job. And for the money that Councilman Bob Constant was speaking about, I can't wait to have a conversation with him after this interview, and ask him where this money is coming to Dearborn Heights as well.
Very great, thanks. And Hassan.
So, excuse me. So definitely the whole experience was exciting. I mean, from running to winning. I know you mentioned the swearing-in ceremony. That was pretty exciting too, especially to have the family there. The first few weeks, they were amazing because I think, and I know Councilman Baydoun and Councilwoman Bryer and Councilwoman Constant can agree that we've been doing, I think, a lot of changes in the city. Like we've been voting on a lot of changes in the city, like I felt earlier to mention that I've never ran for a public office, but I ran in 2019. I ran for the National Association of Realtors Board of Directors. We're the biggest association nationwide. We're almost 1.5 million members, and I had to campaign with 64 different boards in Michigan. So I didn't knock doors, but I had to make some phone calls and campaign and send mailers and stuff. And I was the first one from this area, from the Dearborn board, for the past 100 years since the board started, to be elected to the National Association of Realtors, which was pretty exciting. But definitely winning the council seat just to serve my city residents, it was definitely amazing. The only struggle I see, I don't want to say it's a struggle, but a lot of people, they expect you to know everything. They think that you're micromanaging the city, every department, everything. So I try to learn everything in order to serve better. But overall, it's pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to serve some more. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will speak on behalf of his voice. Haas is a little ill today, but he's getting better. I promise.
Thank you.
I think we're all unfortunately familiar with illness at this point. I'm happy that my COVID symptoms are gone. I hope everybody else stays healthy. Yeah, Marlene, you've had your hand up for a while.
Right. I just wanted to put in a plug, and this pertains to both Dearborn Heights and Dearborn for our library systems. I moved here in '83, and one of the things that really impressed me and made me happy was the quality of the service and the amount of activity. When you go to the library and you see mothers with toddlers, sometimes fathers with toddlers in the children's area, there are always students studying in the chorals. And so in this time of tight budget with reduction of income in Dearborn, I just hope that we don't see any cuts in library programs, and maybe even some expansions, especially for younger children.
All right, go ahead and pop on, anybody who wants to speak.
Can I just jump in for a second to Marlene's question? We're fortunate that in Dearborn, there's a dedicated millage for the library, and the voters in Dearborn very strongly supported the continuation of that millage. So I think that those services are pretty safe. We might see the funds allocated a little bit differently as new services. They've been very proactive with enhancing electronic services and making computers available and being able to check out materials electronically, that kind of thing. But continuing to be able to make libraries more accessible to people, especially those who have a hard time getting to our brick and mortar branches and maybe don't have access to computers at home to be able to check things out. Like the library, the lockers that we have, Salina Elementary School, we've had them in place for a couple of years through a grant. And we just got, the library just got another grant to have lockers so that people can remotely pick things up at their convenience at the Henry Ford Centennial Library. So between the Library Commission being a voice for the people and, our library staff always being open ears to suggestions from residents, I think that we'll continue to see very strong library services in Dearborn. And the other thing that's great about our libraries is they are, in addition to our schools and our other public buildings, they are a community gathering place. And they realize that through COVID, they reopened after some extensive renovations at Henry Ford Centennial Library, but they have even more space up on the third floor that hasn't even been opened yet for groups to be able to work together on projects and that kind of thing. So I'm very excited about the future for our library, and I'll continue to fight for that. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Kamal, did you put your hand up newly?
Yeah, I just want to kind of jump in and put a plug for the Memorial Day Parade, which is coming back this year. We're very excited about that. I'm part of the Dearborn Allied War Veterans Council, and we work so hard on putting together the parade. So it's coming back. We're excited about it. And for the first time ever, we're actually going to have a marathon right before the parade. So 8 a.m. it's going to be a 5K run. I'll be there attempting the run as well. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody there. And then we were talking about calls and getting, calls, whether you're at dinner or whatnot. So, receiving those calls, for me, it's been some of the serious calls, people who need like serious assistance or access to city resources or resolving some serious issues. But, sometimes it's not as serious. I had a lady that called me the other day. She said she bought a refrigerator from ABC Warehouse and it wasn't working. And she thought maybe the city could do something to help out there. So I try to put her in the right direction. it's been a good experience overall.
Glad to hear it. Someone just very kindly reminded me that, of course, Laura Dudgeon, our league board member, is here, and she is also newly elected to the City Charter Commission. And Laura, I'm obviously not trying to exclude you. We're hoping to have the City Charter Commission join us for their own meeting at some point, but I know you wanted something to say something to us.
I'm here as a member of the league, but I happen to be on the charter too. And since we've just came out with this, I thought I'd throw it out to this group and you guys could spread the word. The charter is doing a wonderful job. I'm proud to be part of it. And they are being as transparent and open and inclusive as much as they can be. And we've just got a subcommittee for public engagement, and they're going to be asking for 6 members of the community to be on this engagement committee. And there is a form online to fill out for an application to be part of the public engagement. And that would be more to get the word out to the people, to get their input. We're going to be doing a polls to find out, and this group is the ones that's going to be in charge of a lot of that. What I'm going to do is put the link in the chat room. You'll be hearing more about it, but please let everyone know if they're interested in working with the charter. This is a good spot to go.
And Laura, what's the deadline?
I'm sorry, March 23rd is the deadline for the first round of applications, and and that's the way it read. So thank you for that question, Marlene. And I did want to do a shout out to one of our alumni that is not elected, but she sure has a big important job in the city. Hey, Zainab, congratulations. Wise choice, Mayor.
Think so myself. Thank you.
Yeah, we like Zainab.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Elaine, did you have your hand up? I think I saw it.
Yeah, I did. It was during the library thing, and I was just wondering, my daughter lives in Kalamazoo, and the library there, they have opened it up to borrowing like puzzles, games, all kinds of things besides books and DVDs. Maybe, things like, I don't know if iNooks are, iBooks, but they do have a lot of things to borrow, which would be really great. Yeah, I mean, just that keeping it to books, it's public, just a community of, not everybody can afford to get every game. So there. I wonder if we thought about that in Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. That's what
All right.
Yeah.
I think what I can come in and say is that the majority of services offered by our library are actually online. And so the majority of patrons that visit our library are largely visiting it through renting or using our services online. So I'm not sure if they're doing puzzles and things of that nature.
But we don't know.
Marianne, yeah, I'll check with Marianne and see if there's anything that we can incorporate. What I can tell you, some of the new things that we've done, combining what Councilman Al-Sawafy said with veterans and what Councilwoman Herrick was speaking to, in recognizing that we don't have a designated space for veterans, we actually are establishing a veteran resource center within our library that will be staffed with a lot of nonprofit organizations that will assist our veterans within the community and beyond, with hoping that ensuring that they can access resources that they need. And now Mayor Bill Bazzi in Dearborn Heights has reached out, and we're going to see if we can create kind of a satellite campus for Dearborn Heights based on the model that we're creating and structuring in the city of Dearborn.
I have another suggestion. In Kalamazoo, they also have community in neighborhoods. They have tools and that kind of thing you can borrow. Yeah, it just sounds like a wonderful way to keep houses up and help neighborhoods look good.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's really great. I mean, what I can tell you is our new director of Parks and Recreation is actually coming from Kalamazoo, Sean Fletcher. And so he will be starting 28th of February. And so plus I just recently connected with the former mayor of Kalamazoo. And so I'll see what we can download from the director and the former mayor to see what we can incorporate. We're always looking for best practices from across the country.
Yay. Good, thank you.
That's great. Chris, I see you've got your hand up.
Well, I just wanted to assure Elaine that I heard her message. I serve on the Library Commission in Dearborn Heights. And so I will take your suggestion to our next meeting, okay?
Okay, and then talk to the mayor, talk to the person from Kalamazoo about.
All right, we will. Okay.
And I just want to address the Dearborn libraries do have an ebook system. Like I'm very familiar with it. I'm an avid reader and I've used it before. So we have an ebook system. We have online media. If you have a library card, you have access to an enormous amount of books at Dearborn's libraries. So our residents do have full access to that.
And I think as mayor, we want to launch a Dearborn oriented Wordle. If you are any Wordle avid, I think we're going to work on launching a Dearborn oriented Wordle. And so we're going to challenge everybody to participate.
Oh, good.
You'll have to explain.
I'm in. I'm in.
I think
as long as we form a big group chat where we send our Wordles each day.
Yeah. We'll raffle off each week.
And if I could, I just think it was a good idea for the league to offer this connection between the two cities that we need. In fact, I attended the Chamber of Commerce one when they had the two mayors of the two cities talk, and I think that was so important. And now to have the council people, and like the flooding is the one really connecting, between the Rouge River and the Ecorse River. We have a joint problem, and I think it's good that they're talking to each other.
I agree, definitely.
And that's a great point. If I can add just, one thing that I have learned in my years experience, I have a great council that I get to work with and great partners in Dearborn Heights as well, from council to the mayor's office. And what's really important to note is that it's not great because we reach agreement or consensus across all seven all the time. It's great because we all bring a differing perspective and we challenge one another. I might not always get all 7 votes for a specific issue, but even on those votes that I lose, I'm learning something in that conversation, in that debate, and that's producing hopefully a better outcome for the city of Dearborn. And so I really just wanted to also bring that forward. So sometimes you might see disagreement, you might see things pass on a 4-3 or a 5-2 or 6-1, but that's all a part of the process. And I think it enriches the process, frankly.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I know our own board meetings, we don't always pass things unanimously, and we always end up having a good debate regardless. Yeah. Mary Jo, I noticed you've had your hand up for a while. Please speak up.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. So I did want to say that the library does lend out seeds in Dearborn, but I wanted to ask, I know this is more for the mayor. While you were running, you had a special website for people to check in and give their comments. How are people to do that now? What's the best way? Do you have a similar portal?
So for folks to reach out with any sort of comment or question or concern?
Yeah.
So the best way to do that right now in the interim is to email mayor@ci.dearborn.mi.us. We have established a community relations department, and something that we're trying to do there is come up with one single phone number that all residents will be able to use, if not also live chat agents on the website. And so we're trying to begin with a strategic plan. I can tell you most recently, our community relations department went out to Grand Rapids to visit their center. They actually have a 311 call center, and you call 311 anywhere within the Grand Rapids city boundaries, and you automatically get called into one center that provides you an answer to your question within 5 minutes, more than likely. If it requires more than 5 minutes, they put a ticket into a system and respond to you within about 48 hours. And so we're looking at best practices from across the country to see what we can implement here in the city of Dearborn. But the short term for now is that email address that was sent in the chat.
Yeah, and I appreciate, but I'm not talking about, if I see a road in my neighborhood, I'm talking about if I see something that I think is a little off and I want to let you know. I'm not talking, so that right now is the best way. You know what I'm saying? I was hoping Zainab would stay on, but because I thought it'd be great if you could introduce her and tell us how she plays a role in our city, but she's gone.
I'm happy to speak to it, even if she's off.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah. So most of you know Zainab Hussein, who's been a proud member of the League of Women Voters. She is my chief of staff. Formerly, she was the deputy chief of staff for our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson. And Zainab's real asset is she's a strong communicator and she's a people's person. She understands government structures, having worked at a city, county, state, and worked with some federal partners. And she's someone that works directly with my council, make sure that we're communicating strongly with our directors to council, and also checking in on the over 1,000 personnel that we have all throughout the city. So it's a fairly large job. But she's somebody that is, continually rising to the occasion, and she's my boss. In addition to the council being my boss as well, and all 110,000 residents. But she certainly keeps me on track, and so we're blessed to have her.
And can I ask, what's the difference? We have a new chief operating officer. Now that's new for us. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So our chief operating officer, it's a new position. It's Amanda Bright McClanahan. Amanda comes from the state of Michigan. She was the former chief operating officer and chief financial officer for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, which is the state of Michigan's essentially economic development department. Her role is on the day-to-day processes. What she's doing is she's working she's going through each department and trying to identify ways to improve the processes that we have in place to hopefully bring forward those efficiencies. And so she's really, really focused on those day-to-day roles. And it kind of helps us build a longer strategic plan and vision for how we become more innovative and use data to drive our decision-making. And so once we get our processes in shape, we can then begin to identify the metrics that are important to measure to hopefully think of, where's Dearborn going to be 1, 3, 5 years down the road. So we're really grateful for her. And I think everyone who's come across her has really, just seen her value and has been open and welcoming. So we thank you as well.
I really appreciate that. And just one more thing. So will there ever be, do you see in your vision, a time when you or the new COO or Zainab sits down with a group of people, kind of like how the reps sit down, at the coffee, to just kind of talk about things, as a group? Or
so now that given the better case rate numbers with COVID, we are going to be launching coffee hours every single month. I believe that's the plan. Additionally, we're also going to be launching coffee hours internally as a city with city employees. We obviously have a hierarchy and organizational structure, but it's there for duties and delegations and responsibilities. But I want to make sure that employees also have access to the mayor's office. And so we're going to be doing coffee hours internally for employees, then coffee hours externally for residents.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I encourage any other elected officials to let us know how we can best contact you as needed, and you can put something in the chat or just speak up here.
Can I jump in for just a sec?
Oh, sure.
One of the things that we hadn't really talked about when we were talking about libraries, and Councilman Constant and Councilman Paris put in the chat about this. Dearborn and Dearborn Heights do have several shared services, one of which is the libraries that has been, I don't know how, in place for, 6 years or so now.
6 years, yeah.
So I know that we have reciprocal agreements with the libraries, and then Dearborn provides IT services to Dearborn Heights. But Bob, did you want to talk a little bit more about specifically what the library partnership is?
Yeah, so our residents in Dearborn Heights can use the Dearborn libraries, which is great. And we've had joint IT services. I remember when that was developed, and there was a lot of grant money from the state available for municipal cities getting together and having joint services, and that's worked real well for us. And there's the possibility, like I said, about us joining the now 6-city dispatch center in Dearborn, and there's some real efficiencies and economy of scale with that. And then, of course, other services. We had talk in Dearborn Heights years ago about doing some joint work with the Garden City Fire Department. I know that Dearborn is supplying Melvindale, I think, with fire services. So though our city boundaries have a lot of history and have pretty much remained the same, there are lots of money to be saved in shared services. And I think especially Dearborn and Dearborn Heights should continue to look at that.
All right, thank you both. Yeah, I think we're almost at 8:15 now. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I think we've got time for 1 or 2 more questions if anybody has any. Oh, Carolyn.
Carolyn, you're muted. I don't know if you know that.
Okay, I'm just saying.
You muted yourself again.
Get my. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
I was just saying, get your copy of Who's Who, because all the email addresses are in there.
Thank
For
you.
the city
Yes.
officials.
Yes, good advertising. Thank you. Oh, great, Bob, you've got yours. Thank you. All right, Mary Jo, you got something?
Yeah, thank you. And the copy of the Who's Who is also on our website. But I just wanted to, people are talking about the library. Another big passion of mine is public transit. And Dearborn has always been very supportive of SMART. I'm sure Dearborn Heights has also. But there's a very disturbing event happening right now in Auburn Hills. The city council is talking about pulling out of SMART. So, when you're talking to your council people and other candidates in the future, please see where they are on transit. And I'm just glad that our cities do seem to be supporting it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And again, I'd like to thank all of our elected officials for being so willing to sit down and talk with us tonight. I think this has been a lot of fun. It's been really informative, and it's great to get to know all of you a little bit better. So, if anybody has any last announcements, get them in quick. Otherwise, I think go ahead.
On what Mary Jo said, actually, specifically, I think transportation is something I take very seriously as an automotive engineer. And as somebody who has worked at Ford Motor Company for nearly 10 years, even it's funny because people don't realize that big employers like automotive companies are actually very pro-transit. I can definitely speak for Ford when I say Ford Motor Company has actually been pushing with MTA for a lot of the transit proposals. And I think anyone who's been kind of involved in that process knows that. And I think a lot of people know that in Southeast Michigan specifically, one of the biggest hindrances we've had to economic development and kind of luring companies to come here is a lack of public transportation and a lack of an integrated transportation plan. And I think people who are informed on that issue here specifically know that how about this? It's not Wayne County that's the problem, even when it comes to all that. So I think the city of Dearborn, we haven't actually discussed it too much. There was the multimodal transportation plan that I know a lot of people worked on. And I've seen it, and it's not, I think it's a good start for where we were. I still think that there's a lot more that needs to happen. Now, the problem, let's say, with transportation is it has to be fully integrated. This is systems engineer me talking. And you have to have a lot of other communities sign on to get it to work. But I think especially inside of our city, I would like to see our administration tackle more of the short range. transportation options, because like I know that there is a senior shuttle, for example, that runs in Dearborn, but not many people know to utilize it, because I also think we don't do a very good job as a city of advertising it and kind of scaling it up, because it is a cost to the city as well. But I mean, this kind of goes back to the original thing I was talking about, which was we're going to be shifting our polling locations, right? And I think one of the big things that we find in Dearborn, especially in East Dearborn, is a lack of transportation, especially for at-risk or like senior citizens and for lower income individuals to help get them from one place to another, whether it be grocery stores or in this specific case, polling locations. So there needs to be a lot more conversations around transportation for people, but I think it's not as much in the public psyche as much as I'd like it to be. So I'm very happy that you bring it up, and please continue to bring it up and constantly remind people, because you know what, it works. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, again, thank you so much, everybody who participated tonight. It has been a delight to talk to all of you, to meet some of our new members and interact with our officials. So again, I hope to see you all soon. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. Hopefully we will be able to do this in person next year. And have a good night.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Night.